Welcome to a new episode of Let's Turn the Tide podcast by Veolia Middle East. Today, we are handing the mic over to our youth under the theme, The Green Generation, Tomorrow's Leaders for Today's Action. I'm your host, Nadine Zidani, founder of Mina Impact and a sustainability and climate activist based in Dubai. And it's an honor for me to introduce our guests. So I'm going to start on my left with Salma Moustaid. She's a renewable energies engineer and entrepreneur, the co-founder of Nalida Power in Africa, which specializes in smart solar trees. She works for the Zayed Foundation for the Environment, a UAE-based non-profit organization. Certified as a permaculturist and recognized as a climate change expert and SDG number 7 ambassador, Salma is dedicated to promoting sustainable habits and environmental awareness through climate and SDGs workshops. Welcome, Salma.
Thank you, Nadine.
Then we have Habiba Abdulrahman. Habiba is a sustainability advocate, climate justice activist, and ethical influencer, originally from Kenya and based in Dubai. She is the founder of the Trash Kenya initiative, which educates youth about the impacts of fast fashion and plastic pollution through a partnership with the Green Futures Fellowship. Habiba is as well the PR and communications manager at Fashion Revolution UAE. Welcome, Habiba. Last but not least, AbdelQader Saqqaf. He is dedicated advocate for youth empowerment and was one of the UAE's youth delegate to the United Nations. He moderates sessions at global summits such as ADIPEC and the World Government Summit and conducts talks and workshops at various institutions. His membership in the World Economic Forum Global Shapers, as well as involvement in ARENA and Masdar's programs, underline his commitment to sustainability and international engagement. Welcome, AbdelQader.
Thank you for the introduction.
So, we know that youth are the victims of climate change, but you are as well the power to innovate, to have ideas, and to be part of climate action. So I really want to ask, what do you think is the role of youth in fighting climate change? And I'd love to start with you, AbdelQader.
Thank you, Nadine, for starting and for the introduction. Actually, I believe that the role of youth today is actually to be the bridge between the generations. And when I say the generations, in terms of turning that voice into an impact and reaching to the policymakers and to the stakeholders to make that change in sustainability.
Yeah, I'd love that, being the bridge. What about you, Habiba?
Yes, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I believe that youth, because we are the ones who bear the effects of the people behind us. So we are the ones who should be active, should have that opportunity to invest in our future through different opportunities. For example, we need to come together as youths and we need to be one voice. We need to also enact policy, take part in policy changing regulations in each country. So for example, if we are, for me, I'm from Kenya, but also in the UAE, finding a platform where youth can come together and we can also reach out to the government and to find out how we can adopt policies that incentivize sustainability. Yes.
Salma?
Thank you, Nadine. First of all, I'm so happy to be called youth today, because today one of dearest people to me called me that I'm old to start learning a new activity. So I felt so old, but then I regained
You're not.
the youth vibes here in the event.
Yes.
And I totally agree with what Habiba and AbdelQader said. I believe that youth are the kids of yesterday and we are the seniors of tomorrow. So I think that it's really important for us to learn from the previous generation's mistakes and good things that they've done as well, because there's not only mistakes that has been done before, there is a lot of expertise, there is a lot of, a lot of experience that we can learn from the past and be able to make that change. I think that that is really important, to have the will to change and the will to take part of what's coming in the future. I think that's really important for us as youth, and being included in policy making, as Habiba said, being involved in the COP28 now that is happening in the UAE is a wonderful event that youth can be part of, and really make their voice heard. And what are their concerns, what they're afraid of, because we have discussed previously, this is not only a climate change issue. This is a sociological issue, psychological issue, because it affects all our mental and physical health, after all.
Nadine, if I would put it in one statement, I would say youth are the architects of sustainability.
I love that.
Yeah, the architects of sustainability. This is what I believe their role. And an architect will have always a theoretical input and a practical input.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, and I think you're already sharing a lot of wisdom with all of us right now. So, and I want to come back to you, because you're extremely active. I had such a hard time to do the introduction of each of you, because you are doing so many things you can't imagine. So what do you think, as Salma, Habiba, and AbdelQader, is your role, in the fight against climate change?
I'll start. My role really, I want to start from within. I'm not saying people should do, or youth should do, or school kids should do. No, I start by myself. What can I do? And we were talking just a few minutes earlier with Julia team about the ecological guilt and ecological anxiety, because I think we suffer from this at some point when you are too informed about climate change, too informed about what you should do, but at the end of the day, we can never be 100% sustainable in our day. You tend to use, to overconsume sometimes. So how I see my role is to start by myself in my day. What are the things that I do that are sustainable? And I need to, get used to it and do it more often. And what are the unsustainable things that I do and I'm aware of it and I cannot change it? I need to fight it and be more consistent with my actions.
Yes, thank you. I would like to add on what Salma is saying, to lead by example. So since now I'm one of the people who are informed about climate change, it's to find a way in which we can show people this is how sustainability is being applied in our daily lives. If we make it practical and we show people that you can incorporate sustainability in your day-to-day life, that will be easier, because as much as I'm a sustainability advocate, sometimes I find it hard also to find sustainable choices. So imagine someone who doesn't even know about this. How will it be easier for them if they don't even have that kind of consciousness? So if I start by leading by example to reduce my carbon footprint and to also make it practical for everyone else, I think that is what my role is as a youth activist. And for example, sustainable fashion as well, people don't know about this. And so if I can find a way to showcase that and collaborate with fellow influencers, fellow youths, organizations, it's a collaborative effort, because I believe that one person cannot do it alone. We need to have a community and we need everyone to be in this fight together.
Definitely.
Yes.
And you're clearly leading by example, Habiba. Thank
yes,
you.
Thank you.
Actually, just to add to the answers that the fellows have shared, I would answer it in actually two parts. I remember when I got appointed as the UAE Youth Delegate, I was thinking of this question: what would my role be, whether before that mission, after, or even during the mission? And I've learned something from the multilateral world, from that humble experience that I'm actually going through, which is actually what the member states are doing in the world. So they have a dialogue. So basically the lesson from that point, which is having conversations with other youth. Other than dialogue, they always have reflection on the consumption and the production. Every country is responsible to track the consumption and the production. So as an individual, how can I track my consumption and what am I producing to the world or to the community, whether it's a tangible or a non-tangible production. And the third thing, which is having some commitments and pledges. Those countries, they have commitments, they have agreements, they have pledges. Why don't I have, as an individual, some pledges and commitments towards myself and towards the planet and towards people generally? So this is the main role that I think I would always put all my efforts to get it done. Another role would be actually to fill that gap of, I don't know if it's a miscommunication or there is a big gap between different group of youths where they have different levels of ambition. We have that big community who are part of the initiatives, part of the projects, part of that forum, that exhibition or so on. But we have also a big part of the community, big part of the youth community, I mean, who are not aware, or even if they are aware, they're not even ambitious to be part of it. Mm-hmm. So how can I fill that gap through that culture change that I would love to be part of?
Yeah, that's amazing, and I want to continue the conversation about that, AbdelQader, because I know how you are involved in youth-led, forums, initiatives, organizations, and especially you mentioned the UAE. Like a lot is happening for the youth in the UAE, and it's an amazing time to be part of the youth, I believe. Mm-hmm. So. What do you think it's going to happen? Because if we think about COP28, and the fact that they want to make it truly inclusive, including, the youth, having them at the decision-making table, what do you think is going to happen? Like, if we start, thinking about the next couple of years, what's going to happen with youth, especially in the UAE, and how they can be even more, part of the conversation and action around climate change?
I remember in January 2022, at Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, we were in a room with His Excellency Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber, which is the president of COP28. And I remember he promised that today I see it as a reality. This COP that the UAE will be hosting, it won't be just a COP of youth representation, but they will lead COP. And when I reflect on that phrase and when I think about it, I was thinking, is this a new movement or a new move that the UAE is taking, or it's something that it's rooted and it's part of the history of the UAE? When I thought about it and I had a deep dive in that narrative, I remember reading about His Highness, the founding father of the United Arab Emirates, which is Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, an individual who lived an intentional life, not just for here or now. A caring father, a father who changed the narrative not just of the country but of the whole region by the initiatives. He's a philanthropist, he's a humanitarian, and he's an environmentalist. And because of his ambition and because of the change, today the UAE is a leading player and impactful player in the sustainability world. Youth empowerment in the UAE was never a challenge, and it will never be a challenge. The UAE empowered youth ever since, and it have different initiatives by appointing the first ever Minister for Youth, by having actually the first ever youth champion in COP. 27 COPs weren't run by any youth champion before. And other than that, this development, the pace of this development was really fast. Like 50 years ago, we were living in tents. Today, or maybe in September, we just received the astronaut from the space. The development is so fast, and we're really excited for COP28. We were at a receiving end. Today, we are at a giving end. Today, we are providing opportunities for the world, specifically for youth. In the UAE, we don't just promise, we walk the talk. Because we believe in what I just mentioned in the beginning, that youth are the architects of sustainability. And I remember when I met some of those delegates in New York during the UNGA, the 78th session. I remember when I met them, I was asking them, what do you do? Is it just a representation? Tell me. Or it's an impact, it's a journey that you're learning and you feel the change. I was really surprised from what they're doing. They're taking part of the negotiation, they're taking courses, they're going from a conference to another, they're making alliances on the youth level, which is great. It's not just a representation.
So it's not just talks.
Yeah, and the level of awareness that they have about on the topic of climate change, I can say it's equitable to the level of the policymakers. Some of them are 18, 19, 20 years old, but the knowledge they have because of such platforms is equitable to the knowledge that a policymaker or maybe a minister of environment or climate change in a country have. So it's a really a great impact.
So you both mentioned these great initiatives, and I was laughing because I myself am a younger member, and it's a platform that is really amazing. Like, I really invite all the youth to be part of it, because you are part of a communication circle that is international, and some initiatives would including Masdar, including all the biggest, including Race for Africa, including like the big initiatives all around the world, and you can be part of it, like AbdelQader said, like as a level of a decision maker. For example, they have simulations online, they moderate sessions with big decision makers, and they have the constituency. At the constituency, they have a chance to voice, to really say what they like and what they don't like in certain agendas. So, for example, we receive papers, and all the younger members, the 100,000 members, they have the chance to say what they agree with and what they disagree with in a comment section. And then we send it back to either the UNFCCC or the people who sent us that paper in the beginning. So it's really important, because you really you accumulate this decision-making knowledge as well as you are part of it.
Yeah, it is. I'm amazed how you are connecting the dots, between all of you, and how active actually you are in this field. So coming back to the renewable energies engineer, Salma, I want to know more about, because we know that clean and renewable energies are clearly the solution, one of the solutions to climate change, even if we are not moving as fast as we should. So in this field of renewable energies, what do you think should be the role of youth, and what can we do more actually to push them, encourage them to be part of this sector?
Well, I think first of all, I think that making the choice to move towards renewable energy is a must now. We cannot really say, no, we can use conventional energy. That's it. We have come to a point that renewable energies are the solution, and conventional energies is just, making more GHG emissions in our atmosphere. That's a fact. But how can we encourage more youth to do so? By really making the balance between economically and ecologically. But luckily in 2012 we have come to a point of economic stability for example for solar panels, that they became more profitable. So if it's an investment that is worthwhile. So you can really go for that. But it's a little bit tough on the youth to say you need to move towards solar panels, because who makes this decision in a household? It's the parents. But youth can definitely push that decision, right? For the parents or for the decision maker in a household. Let's talk micro level. Youth being more involved in green jobs and also the expertise is really important. but nothing comes without difficulties for sure. Choosing this path of expertise or choosing this path of studies is not easy. It comes with headaches as other fields, but I think it's we are at a point of no comeback. We really need to move forward to greener jobs and build this expertise.
Yeah, and especially with youth.
Yes.
Moving on to fashion, Habiba, I know how an activist you are for sustainable fashion and creating awareness around the damage of the fast fashion. I want to know more about what you think as well youth should be doing, because when I think about youth, it's a huge market for the brands. Let's face it, and as you know, they like to follow the trends, but at the same time, it's an amazing force for change. So what do you think youth can do to transform the whole fashion industry?
Thank you for allowing me to share this. So one way that I would say youth can be involved is actually to stop buying fast fashion. That is the major reason why fashion is one of the most polluting industry as behind global food and construction industry. Fashion is known to be, to be 10% to project 10% of the carbon emissions, and this increases the carbon footprint. So as young people, first of all, we need to be aware of this. We need to understand what our clothes are made of. I'm part of Fashion Revolution UAE, which Nadine has mentioned, which is a platform that actually strives and fights for the transition of the fashion industry and textile production from synthetic fiber that is made from oil and gas to eco-friendly fibers, which is made from eco-friendly materials that is good for the environment and for the people as well. This also is because the industry where fashion textile production is being practiced is in global south countries like China, India, Bangladesh, and these are the countries that are disproportionately affected. So if production of the clothes that we find fashionable, if we see big brands that are offering this kind of fashion, we need to be able to hold them accountable as young people. And also one more thing people need to understand, sustainable fashion can be expensive because it can be costly because there's so much that goes into it. We have one here who's our guest as well. She's in sustainable fashion, and these are the brands that can be one of the examples that us youths can buy from. But also we need to understand that since sustainable fashion is expensive, it's not the only way to practice sustainable fashion. We can practice by simply not buying new clothes. We can be creative by simply recycling, upcycling, and also buying secondhand, swapping, taking part in these activities. So these are the number of ways that us youths can take part in and find creative ways to be sustainable. So I would say that would be my take on how youth can
and you're
play a role.
doing it very well,
Thank
Habiba,
you.
because we feel the true activist within you.
Thank you.
And I encourage everyone to follow her on social media if they
Thank
want
you.
alternatives and advice, because you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you so much.
Pascal mentioned in his introduction the Veolia Ecological Transformation Barometer study conducted in 25 countries around the world, including Saudi Arabia and the UAE. And I want to come back to one of the results that was quite striking for me. So it's the fact that 26% of UAE residents, including 36% of youth, struggle to envision the world after the ecological transformation. And I want to come back because you are representing the youth tonight, and I want to come back on that because first I want to know, how do you feel about this figure? Because for me, I was shocked. And second, I want to know how we can together, how can you share with us, how do you envision this future? How can we visualize this future tonight together? Do you want to start, Salma?
Yeah, sure. Actually, it's shocking for me as well, because I know that the UAE is making a lot of, big steps in this side, in this transition. Yeah, and so with the green agenda, with the National Committee for Sustainable Development Goals, and so on, it's really shocking. And the future I envision, Nadine, is a green future with less consumerism,
Yes.
and more conscious behavior and more conscious buying. I saw an ad like 2 weeks ago. It was an ad for an eco-friendly gadget. After all, it's an eco-friendly gadget that we can use, for example, let's say every 3 years, but they were, incentivizing people to let go their old gadget. I will not mention the name of the company, but they were incentivizing people to throw the old gadget and buy the new ecological gadget. What is? It's still consumerism, you throw something and then you buy something else just because it's ecological. No, that is not really the mindset that we are talking about. But I envision a future that is made of a community that helps each other, a community of not only youth, of children, youth, and seniors as well, that are all together working for one goal. And there is no disparities, and there is no gap that AbdelQader was talking about, the gap in youth. So there are some people who are interested in this, but some people who don't even want to think about it. So I think that the unity in this mindset is what will keep it a solid future and a prosperous one, inshallah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So a very inclusive green future.
Yes.
We need a culture change.
Oh, I love that.
We need
Can
a
you
culture
elaborate?
change, a mindset change, actually.
Yeah.
And if I would add to the answer that Salma mentioned, I would say the green future actually would start by replicating the situation that we're having in the United Arab Emirates, a state of sensibility, a responsibility. We have that solidarity, we have that consciousness, everyone is active. This, how can we start the green future? But if there is one thing that I can do today, just like how Salma pointed to the tree, I would say maybe I would bring Mr. Pascal a green kandora with a sustainable fabric, and we can become green within the next week, hopefully. But in terms of true change, we need a behavioral change, we need a mindset change, we need a culture change. How many of you here have been to London? How many of you here have passed by the Selfridges? Okay, I can see a group of individuals from the audience. The most beautiful phrase in London to me, it's a big statement or a big logo that's in front of the Selfridges building, which is "Let's change." Let's change. Always, whenever I pass by that building, I always reflect on that. We need that system of nudging through the advertisements, through the change. How can we influence from the small things, from a building, from an advertisement, from a cup of coffee, from... we should be creative in that culture change, in that type of challenge tackling.
Yeah, and the youth are clear innovators and can really help in that change. Habiba, do you want to add a word?
I would say that also we should have self-initiative when it comes to reaching out to different youth opportunities, seeking these opportunities, because I wouldn't say I had it easy. Coming from Kenya also, through finding out why we need a change in the fashion industry, or why there's plastic pollution, is through volunteering. We need this kind of initiatives from youths, and we're already seeing that happen. So we need to also motivate youth towards that kind of information or towards that kind of action. So there will be a lot of talks on green jobs, but we're like, okay, where are these green jobs? So you find links, a lot of them, and sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes it's who you know, and more less than what you're qualified for. And this is also a way to encourage youth to network a lot, to be in network settings, to be in the right youth movements, and also if we can have governance on what is fed to our youth through climate education. I feel like climate education is one of the ways we can actually encourage youth to be part of this movement. Yes.
You shared many, many things, guys, tonight. So the green future is inclusive, it's about building communities, less consumption. We need a cultural change, yes. And I 100% agree with you on that. More innovation, research, and more opportunities for the youth.
An initiative, yes.
Yeah, so it's really amazing.
Can I add on that,
please?
Actually, what Habiba said is music to my ears, because she touched upon so many things that I related to my previous entrepreneurial experience in Morocco. And when she talked about seeking the advice, seeking the mentorship, I think mentorship is really important, because those mentors are the ones that have the trust, that put the trust in the youth. And honestly, personally, one of my mentors have trusted me that I can lead a startup and I can really manage a startup and go and raise funds and do all of this by myself, while I was only fresh graduate. First job is, okay, you manage a startup, what? But it was one of my mentors who really believed in me and trusted me, and he knew that I will get there. And alhamdulillah, I didn't fail him, and the startup now is an SME back in Morocco, and it's still working. And not only mentors, so this was actually a family mentor, like my uncle, but also mentors in university, mentors in any kind of setting. You are my mentor. I seek your advice in so many topics, related to climate change or to career-wise. So I think that really seeking mentorship is really important, and that the person shouldn't be shy to ask advice.
Thank you so much for mentioning that, Salma, because it's a great message for all of us, because we can become mentors. And I love mentoring youth, and I think we kind of underestimate our power to influence, especially the young generations. So that's an amazing takeaway for all people, tonight, definitely. So we always end the Let's Turn the Tide podcast with the same question to all our guests. And let me ask you the question. So, considering the urgency of addressing environmental and climate issues, what is the one concrete action we can take to create a more sustainable future? Just one. You want to start?
Ladies first.
I can start.
Please.
Actually, if you asked me this question 2 weeks ago, I would have a different answer. I would say a concrete action would be to plant trees. And as AbdelQader said, he was talking about the late, our founding father of the UAE, Sheikh Zayed, and being humbled and being proud that I work at the Zayed Foundation for the Environment that holds his name, and that started as an initiative of planting palm trees in the beginning. So it started as an initiative, the Zayed initiative for planting palm trees, and then it grew to become the foundation that is now giving awards through the Zayed International Prize, as well as the Emirates Appreciation Award, to many categories. We will be launching it soon, inshallah. But that one concrete action would be to plant trees.
Amazing. Habiba?
I would say one concrete action we can all take is to reduce our consumption. That is very concrete, because if all of us reduces our consumption, that we're already reducing our carbon footprints. So each of us has a carbon footprint. So if we reduce our consumption in any way, from food consumption to clothes consumption, to electricity, to water, it's an all-rounded thing. And I say sustainability is an all-rounded way. It's a lifestyle. So I can say we can start by reducing our consumption.
So planting trees, reducing our consumption,
Yes.
and the last word goes to AbdelQader.
Actually, I would apply both, but if I have only one action to do, it would be actually reflecting, because they say if you have a powerful why, then the how is easy.
That's beautiful. I'm so inspired by this conversation, and it's hard to end this conversation, honestly. I really want to thank you so much for your time and for sharing, your wisdom with us, because I think we all, we are leaving this podcast with so many lessons. So thank you so much. And I would like as well to thank Veolia for giving us this platform and giving a voice to our youth. So please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Veolia Near and Middle East, where you will find the podcast, and as well search for Let's Turn the Tide on your favorite podcast platform. And stay tuned for our upcoming episodes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Round of applause, please, for our guests. Amazing.
Thank you.